Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. In today's video we have one tidbit for the Kenobi series, but it's a pretty important one. So as you guys are well aware, the actors have been on their press tour and I've been covering various comments by Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Deborah Chow and of course Moses Ingram. And one sentiment put forward by Ewan McGregor the other day was how glad he is to be able to make the Kenobi show for kids who grew up with the prequels, who now as adults can truly appreciate the show. For him, the best part about returning in the role is that those fans, myself included in that generation, have his back 100%. Well now my dear Mandalorians, in a new and extremely heartwarming interview with William Mullally, it was Hayden Christensen's turn to give his opinion on returning to Star Wars and the fan reception, and I've got to say guys, it's very clear just how much the hate he received after Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith affected him. Hate which in my opinion was completely ridiculous, unwarranted, and the same goes for Ahmed Best and Jake Lloyd. They did their absolute best as actors with their respective characters, and to me, and every other prequels fan, they were such a huge part of our childhoods, so we never really felt that vitriol that some of the older fans at the time did. But with this new interview with Hayden, the best part is when he talks about his evolution as a person, and how returning to Star Wars is a way more positive experience, given the recent changes in fan reception. Hayden spoke about how he's had a very different and much more peaceful time in his life, and since the prequel trilogy has received an enormous resurgence in popularity in recent years, he loves that he's, quote, finally embraced by Star Wars fans, and we absolutely love Hayden. He is definitively Anakin Skywalker hands down, and in my opinion, he played the role perfectly, according to both George Lucas's script and overall vision. And as George Lucas once said, those who think he didn't fundamentally misunderstand Anakin Skywalker as a character. The awkward, emotionally confused, and damaged teenager / young adult that we see in episodes 2 and 3 were exactly how Anakin was supposed to be at the time. The aspects that many critics attacked were a fundamental part of who Anakin was, and I'm even talking about some of the clunky dialogue with Padme that many fans consider to be cringe or uncomfortable. Now look guys, we could spend hours diving into a character analysis of Anakin Skywalker, but to put it briefly, Anakin had a very rough and messy life, from a slave boy on Tatooine who lost the mentor that freed him and was supposed to train him, to being told to suppress his feelings for his mother and then was only able to get to her when it was too late, to eventually turning to Palpatine, who was the only father figure he ever knew. Anakin was set up for failure and was never going to have a stable, well-adjusted mindset as an adult, and the highest ranking members of the Jedi Order pushed him in the wrong direction many times along the way. So the result of that is what George wanted to portray in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And in my opinion, and I know I'm not the only one who thinks this, Hayden portrayed that perfectly. And it is nice to see the prequels in recent years get a lot of love, and it's great to see that Hayden feels that too. So next in the interview he was asked about playing Darth Vader specifically, and he teased that we're going to see a much more personal side to the character, especially when compared to what he's going to be like later on in the original trilogy. In his own words he said, quote, he's very much trying to reconcile his past, and hunting down the Jedi is his job, mandated by the Emperor, but it's more than that, it's personal for him. And then speaking about fans embracing his return, he said, quote, it's really heartwarming, I can't tell you how much it means to me. And finally my dear friends, he finished the interview with a very touching line. This one hit me right in the feels. He said, quote, I guess the moral of the story is patience. And he's waited 17 years for this moment, just as we have as fans, and I'm so glad to see both him and Ewan having a much more positive outlook on the fandom and the franchise than before. And the age of the resurgence of the prequels is truly upon us, not only with the Kenobi series, but also the Bad Batch, and also to some extent, the Andor show. But before the latter, we are here waiting for the Kenobi series on May the 27th. I can't wait, and I hope you guys are excited too. And so now my dear friends, believe it or not, we're going to be talking about Solo, a Star Wars story. Solo turns 4 this year, and conversation surrounding the movie continues to be rampant in the fandom. Some fans love the film, some don't, and I've noticed two distinct factions: those who adore the movie and want a sequel, and those who vehemently dislike it and like to point out that it lost money. Now I will say that this movie has certainly grown on me over time, and Kira being a prominent figure in canon right now, especially in the comics, has definitely given me a new appreciation for the movie. I certainly believe that a sequel is warranted, and no doubt that's what they might do with the Lando series. But regardless, Ron Howard has now reflected on the film 4 years later. He speaks about taking over directing duty and the disappointing box office, which in large part was due to fan reception of The Last Jedi the year prior. And I don't think anyone can doubt the timing of Solo's release did not help it, so let's see what Ron said. When Phil Lord and Chris Miller were fired, directing duty fell to Ron Howard, who was left with a very difficult task of attempting to finish the movie. Despite wanting more time, Lucasfilm were adamant to stick to the original release date, and Ron Howard, now speaking to The Hollywood Reporter, said the following: "There's a lot I really love about Solo, and yet it didn't hit the zeitgeist when it came to the market. Damn." He then goes on to speak about the early problems in the movie, especially with creative decisions with Phil and Chris. He said, "I understood that this difference had created a schism to the point where they weren't going to be able to go on working together, and that was really unfortunate because I like Phil and Chris, and I also really admire them. When I looked at the footage and read the script, which I liked, I felt like I understood what it was the studio and Lucasfilm were looking for in finishing the movie and reshooting some of it. In a few places, I thought of reconceiving a few scenes, which they were open to. I had some really comforting conversations with Phil and Chris, who let me know they weren't leaving because I was coming in. For me, it was an absolute exercise in professionalism and friendship, and it indirectly led to a season of Willow, which we're doing now with Jonathan Kasdan." So those were his only comments on Solo, and as I said, it's not a bad movie, and there is so much to like about it. And while the disappointing box office might not justify a sequel movie, Lucasfilm are no doubt aware of recent fan love for it. Now, while they probably wouldn't risk making a Solo sequel movie because numbers are everything, we might see them continue the stories of some of these characters in the Disney Plus shows. As I said, the Lando series is a likely option, but maybe even in the Book of Boba Fett Season 2. They're already connecting characters from Boba to the likes of Kira and Han Solo in the comics, so that is definitely an option I can see happening. But 4 years on, I think this movie is worth celebrating. And if you didn't like the film, fair enough, but it certainly had its moments. As I've said, this movie's grown a great deal on me recently. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you enjoy Solo: A Star Wars Story? Are you team #MakeSolo2 happen? Or are you not too much of a fan of it? All opinions are valid, so let me know in the comments down below. But with that said, guys, that brings us to the end of this Star Wars news update. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and a huge welcome if you are. We are currently at 108,000 subscribers, thank you all so much for the support, but the next goal is 150 and then 200. So join the Mandalorian ranks, you're more than welcome. But until the next one, guys, may the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg, have a good one.